Welcome back to KU Football Media Days here in Dallas at the Dallas Westin Hotel. Jesse Newell alongside Matt Tait. Matt, what did you take away from day one here at Big 12 Media Days?
Well, today the Big 12 meetings or Media Day was kind of overshadowed by the Penn State news. Really was the first question that almost every coach was asked today. And it's a tough topic. It's obviously a very touchy situation, and I think all the coaches handled it great. I mean, they all said the same sort of message. You know, it's a tragedy. It's something that's really unfortunate. It's something that all of us would like to know why or how it happened, and more than that, find a way to make sure it doesn't happen again. So a lot of class, a lot of grace with the way they sort of answered it, but that definitely hung over the whole thing today. And there was plenty of football that was talked about too, and on the field stuff. And Coach Stoops stands up there and talks about how his team's going to be back competing for championships, and Bill Snyder stands up there and talks about his youngsters, and all that stuff still happened. But Penn State was a pretty overwhelming thing today, no doubt.
It's funny how the SEC wants to be number one with most things, and they're number one with their media days. And I think after Gary Pinkel had his controversial comments, I think that kind of prepared everyone today for the questions that were to come. And like you said, a lot of different coaches answered it different ways, but they pretty much said the same thing.
Yeah, I really liked how they were honest, I mean, some of these guys knew Joe Paterno and Jerry Sandusky, and the guys that knew him best just kind of said, hey, I don't really want to talk about it. And I think that's their right. I don't think you should have to talk about it. I don't think you should have to talk about everything, and especially when it's such an awkward topic like that. So, again, I think they all handled it great, and now we can sort of move on. And I'm sure it'll come up on Tuesday as well, but not as much. And once that's behind us, we can do football.
Another hot topic today, TCU coming to the Big 12. That's that with Gary Patterson and those guys. I think they're sick of answering the questions now. And also with Gary Patterson, he was saying, I've tried to calm down our fan base. It's not working. I've been trying to talk to him for 12 years, about certain things. They don't listen to me. He kind of joked around. But I think they're ready to play some football games and show that they can compete. And then Kansas State as well. I think that we kind of sense as well that there might be a little bit more of a rivalry with KU coming up since Missouri has left the Big 12.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's interesting because I talked to 4 different K-State guys. I talked to Coach Snyder about it. I mean, they all have sort of felt that their fans and even them as players, they've kind of felt that way. KU's always been their rival. It's just been the KU side of it that tended to look a little more toward the border war versus the Sunflower Showdown. But I think they're hopeful that KU's eyes will sort of turn west instead of east now when they're looking at their rival. And I think that's only natural. It may take 4 or 5 or 10 years for it to maybe really gain some steam, but it may take one thing. One guy says something in the paper, and then it becomes a little heated and whatever, and then that can turn it into a heated rivalry overnight. So it was really interesting to hear their thoughts and kind of their perspective on the Sunflower Showdown. But I also agree with you on Patterson and TCU. They're ready. I mean, they belong. They believe they can win in this conference. They're excited. But the coolest thing that I thought Gary Patterson said was, over and over he said this, we want to make sure that the Big 12's glad they invited us. And that's pretty cool. I mean, that's in direct contrast to what we've been hearing from Texas A&M and Missouri and Nebraska and Colorado these last couple of years. Those were teams that were like, whatever, Big 12, and these are teams that are saying, hey, we want to make this conference proud. And from the new commissioner, Bob Bowlesby, who also spoke today, to Gary Patterson and TCU having those sentiments, this conference is in really good shape, and that's definitely another thing that stood out today.
Gary Patterson said he said that, being in this conference isn't enough for TCU. Now TCU has to go win in this conference. That's the most important thing. More coverage coming up from day 2. Day starts at 10 o'clock. KU will be here. Charlie Weiss in his first media days, along with Dane Christ, Tanner Hawkinson, Tobin O'Perm. Be sure to check out KUsports.com for all your coverage.